And now, for your listening pleasure, here's Polizzi and Rose, covering the week of media, marketing, and digital content news. This Old Marketing. Take it away, boys.
Hello, my friends. This is Robert Rose, and welcome to episode number 271 of This Old Marketing, recorded on Thursday, May 13th, 2021. And with me, as always, my good friend, my colleague, and a guy who's, well, disappointed he can't buy a Tesla with Bitcoin, Mr. Joe Polizzi. How are you?
I cannot stand him. I'm so done with the Elon thing.
Really?
Well,
I thought he was pretty good on Saturday
I didn't see any of that. But
oh, you didn't.
But I don't get what he's doing with the whole Bitcoin thing. First of all, there's been no new information to come out about the environmental concerns around Bitcoin, which in a lot of cases are unfounded in my opinion, but go ahead. He can go ahead and say, oh, okay, well, we bought $1.5 billion worth of it, and now we're going to let everyone buy a Tesla with it. But no. I'm going to, 2 weeks later, even though nothing has changed, we're going to back out of that stance.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. They're not getting rid of... See, if you were going to penalize the miners for their non-sustainable efforts in using, coal or energy, you should sell your Bitcoin. But that's no, right. He keeps the Bitcoin and just says, no, you just can't use it to pay for a Tesla, which, by the way, making a Tesla, you could say what you want about Tesla and the environmental, aptitude or whatever it is, the great things about Tesla and the grid, but it is a lot of coal burning, old oil energy that goes into making a Tesla.
That's a really excellent point. Yeah, that's an excellent point that I hadn't considered. I think somebody in PR and marketing got to him and basically made this decision. I would bet you he had zero to do with this decision.
It's interesting. I honestly don't know what to do because I like the fact that, of course, crypto is regulated, but it's not regulated like stocks are regulated. And I don't like the fact that he can go and tweet. Maybe this is the whole thing we have to get used to if you're looking at decentralized money. He can go ahead and tweet and say Dogecoin is the best and Bitcoin is awesome, and then 2 days later, dump it.
Right.
And I don't
say Dogecoin is a hustle.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Right.
So I just don't like what he's doing, and I don't think it helps people. That's my biggest frustration, going back and forth.
Well, yeah. I mean, we talked about this last week, right? With my, get off my yard little rant about Gary Vee and a lot of that stuff. I think in the opposite way, I think that's also unhelpful, right? Is the sort of manipulation of the technology as jargon to create false value. And I think both are, annoying, right? And it just shows, I was just having this conversation with someone the other day where, the strength of, a decentralized currency like Bitcoin or Dogecoin or, Ethereum or something like that. I mean, Ethereum's a little different because it's driving a lot of technology.
Yeah, it's true application.
But
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But let's just look at the cryptocurrencies for a second, is that it is decentralized and that there's a lot of power there. There's a power in sort of, a million tiny little voices, right? That are all tracking the ledger. And the weakness of it, of course, the fragility of course, is when any grouping of those million little voices come together and start manipulating things. And, there's rumors about, Musk being the biggest, there's apparently some big whale that's in Dogecoin that owns, I'm forgetting the exact percentage, but it's a high percentage. It's like 30% or something like that of the entire inventory, as it were, of Dogecoin. And a lot of people speculate that it's him. When you can affect a currency value by going on a skit show and calling it a hustle, something's wrong. You know what I mean? There's something is really, really wrong.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just not give Elon any more publicity than he already gets. My question to you is, And I want to talk NFL in a second, but I also want to check. Did you check out Gary V's launch, V Friends, his NFT collection?
Yes, I did. I mean,
I take it you weren't enthralled.
well, yeah. Look, it's one of those things where, did I read correctly? I didn't read the entire article. I will be honest there, but I saw an article that said as part of the launch, he launched one of the cards or a piece of artwork and sold it for $600,000 or something like that. Was that was part of this? Right?
I don't know about. I know that. First of all, every one of the NFT admission packets to VCon, which is the 3-year super event, you get a piece of artwork with it because you are a thing. Like if you're whatever goat or whatever giraffe, or because these are original drawings from Gary, and then there's a piece of artwork that goes with each thing. So you get the goat, you get access to the event, and then you get every 2 months you get something in the mail from him. So that's part of that. So everyone has its own little content experience. I think you go to a Knicks game and sit center court. You got one that you go garage sailing with Gary. Like there's some really strange things in there.
Yeah.
And then I think there was just separately a group of, honestly, I'm looking more at the super conference and the NFTs associated with that for obvious reasons. But I believe there's also, one of 5 pieces of art that he has sold.
Yeah. And I think that's, as you were talking, I was looking for it and can't find the article as we speak, but I saw something to the effect that he did that. So yes. So, and again, I guess it comes back to congratulations for doing that. I can't fault the guy, right?
No,
I mean, it's a business. It's perfectly legal. At this point, it's perfectly ethical. It's as Musk said, it's a hustle. But he's kind of known for the hustle. So I can't complain.
I don't have an issue with anything that he's done. I like the idea of event passes that are set to NFTs with unlockable content, unlockable opportunities. Again, you talked about this last week. Not necessarily a new thing, but just the technology usage is new. I like the fact that I could buy one of these access passes and I could sell it peer-to-peer to somebody else next year if I don't want to go to the second year event. And I could theoretically make money off of my conference ticket, peer-to-peer. Without using another exchange for that. So that is intriguing to me.
What would be intriguing is if he set it up in a way that he makes money. That's where it would be unique.
Well, he does make money.
No. I mean, he makes money on the resale. In other words, because that is, as we've talked about on this show before, that's where I think it's really an interesting technology play where in this ticket sale, if you buy a ticket and you're banking on it, you're going to scalp that ticket, which is the sort of real word for it.
Yeah, sure.
And you're going to hopefully, it's going to rise in value. And a week before, where there's no tickets left, you end up selling it for twice its, what you paid for it. It would be really interesting if he then gets a piece of it.
He does. He absolutely does.
He gets a piece of that resale.
He gets a piece of that resale. I think it's 10%.
You know this for a fact. Really?
I'm 99% positive. If you listen to,
well, that's interesting.
Yes, I mean, by the way, we've talked about this. That's why I think in 2 to 3 years, all NFL tickets will be NFTs because they want a piece of the resale.
I don't disagree with that one.
Well, so he's going. He's the first one to do this as an event, and so if you get a chance, and some of this is going to hurt your ears, honestly, Robert, but if you get a chance, listen to Kevin Rose's Modern Finance podcast. He interviewed Gary Vaynerchuk, and he went through the whole thing. And he was honest. Gary was honest. He says, look, I'm taking a big risk with this. Some of this doesn't feel right. Some of it feels right. But he did say, I think this is my ticket to buy the Jets. He said it. He's been trying to buy the Jets for a long time. He feels this could be it. And by the way, if he's selling pieces of art for $600,000, I don't know what it is. But he's selling pieces of art. He might get there. He might get there.
Yeah, he might.
So
he might. Well, good for him. Good for him. Good for him.
So anyways, anybody interested, listen to the Kevin Rose podcast. You get it straight from Gary. And I got to say, I'm not a huge. I love what Gary's trying to do, and I think you and I both commend him for that. I'm not a huge fan of his art. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just not.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It absolutely
You're not buying the art.
Doesn't matter. No, before we go to the news, what do you think about your Cowboys schedule?
I think it's going to be tough. I think it's a hard, tough schedule. I mean, it's, the funny thing is if you had asked me that question, if that schedule had been the schedule for last year, I would be like, it's pretty easy. But a lot of those teams turned out to be really good, and I think are going to be good again this year. So look, I'm an eternal optimist, but it's going to be it's a tough schedule. Opening up at the Super Bowl champs. We are the NFL opener this year, and then you got the Patriots, and that's our extra game is the Patriots, and then you got who might be a super team by the time the actual season opens, and you got the Chiefs and the Saints, and it's just like a who's who of who finished in the top 10 last year. So
I think I think the NFL hates both our teams because you just said what you got, and then we open up with Kansas City. Come on.
Yeah, but you guys are good.
But that's the last team we just lost to.
Yeah, you shouldn't have lost that game, though.
I know, especially with Mahomes out of the game.
Yeah.
I was on a podcast with John Jantz the other day. John's from Kansas City, and he was saying, yeah, you guys had a chance. I said, I know we did. Just didn't quite, I think, have the winning drive or the experience to take it over. But I think they fixed that. I think they're ready to go. I think this is they've got all the pieces. There's no excuses.
They've got all the pieces.
There's no
and
excuses.
All the other teams in your division are at a with the exception of maybe the Ravens. I think the time is now, right?
You know what? I've heard people say that, but if you look at Baltimore is a playoff team.
Of course,
Cincinnati is on. Cincinnati's on the move, and then Pittsburgh.
Cincinnati's not on any move. Cincinnati's.
I like the quarterback. I like the quarterback from Ohio.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah, Joe Burrow. He's awesome.
I love him. I think if he stays healthy, they're going to they'll be a 7-9, 8-8 team. And
that's
that's a big improvement. And then Pittsburgh, you don't know what you get. You could get 11-5 or 5-11 with Big Ben.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, whatever. Anyways, should we?
We should.
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely, we should. There was a lot of news, a lot of launches this last week. I guess it's maybe that time of year, sort of spring, early summer, and lots of new launches. We are going to open our news coverage with something of course, it seems like we talk about every week, Clubhouse. But here it is. Clubhouse launches and comes to Android after more than a year of iOS exclusivity. This story courtesy of The Verge. And it's available in the U.S. for all of our global listeners here, and will apparently roll out to other countries soon. And by the way, we should say that it's not available to everybody.
Only those with 600 or more followers?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There you go.
Did you get your Twitter Spaces yet, by the way?
Let me. You know what? When you comment, I'll check.
Okay.
The story opens up after more than a year of iOS exclusivity. Social audio platform Clubhouse is releasing its Android app. It will be available on beta in Google's mobile OS today in the U.S., allowing users to sign up and participate in its audio-only chat rooms. It is invite-only, by the way, folks, so it's still, even on Android, it's only invite-only, so that lead is a little, it's a little wrong. Anyway, our plan over the next few weeks, says Clubhouse, is to collect feedback from the community, fix any issues we see, and work to add a few final features like payments and club creation before rolling it out more broadly, the company said in a blog post. The Android app, which the company says has been the top request from its community by far, will roll out to other English-speaking markets and the rest of the world in the days and weeks ahead. Users outside the U.S. will be able to pre-register for access via the Clubhouse page in the Google Play Store, and others will be notified when the Android app is available in their area. And it goes on to then talk a little bit more and basically fulfill its whatever 1,000 words that it needed to actually serve all the ads that it's trying to serve on this particular website. It doesn't say a whole lot more than that, but there's a lot more words.
And that's so true. That is so true. When you have the ads in the middle of the articles, they say, well, it's 659 words. You got to have 705.
Well, they have so many ads they've got to serve on this page. I mean, it's goodness gracious. Anyway, what say you, Mr. Polizzi, about Clubhouse coming to Android? I know we're going to pair this story, by the way, with one from The Atlantic that says that Clubhouse has a blocking problem.
Yeah,
maybe you can speak a little to that as well.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about that. First of all, Clubhouse, I don't know if you've been aware because I haven't seen you at my Clubhouse book tour.
Or does that shock
you? My Content book tour. I've had 4 Clubhouse rooms. We've had, and I guess I would say 3 solidly good ones and 1 not so good from an audience standpoint. 3 of them we got between 100 and 200 people. The 4th one not so good. And what I do love about, and I've told you this, I love the UI. I love the interaction, and we're even recording these as, they're going to be podcasts on the Content Inc. podcast, but at the same time, we get a little bit of feedback. I think from doing this exercise, I think the future of this is in small groups of people that want to have a private group, that you don't want to have 10,000 people there. I think it's really going to niche communities. That makes sense. And the problem with that model is it doesn't justify a $4 billion valuation. But I think it can be very useful. So that's kind of my take. I've been using it heavily over the last couple of weeks. I think that's where it's going. To talk about the...
Is that just an easier to use audio version of Zoom, though?
That's how I'm getting to see it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you're right, by the way.
I really enjoyed that. But I'll tell you. So we had Wally Koval. You know Wally. We both are good friends with Wally. Wally started accidentally Wes Anderson. He was our guest on a Q&A. So he's talking about how he built AWA and leveraged Instagram to do it. Fantastic interview with him. And we had a total of 190 people in that room. I think we peaked at like 70. Everyone stayed for about 20 minutes or something like that, so we get all the stats with it. It's great. But we had some really good questions, some really interesting people were talking, and so we were able to record it. So I told everybody we were recording it, and so you don't just do the one-on-one podcast. You actually get some feedback from people in the community and fans, and I enjoyed that part. So I think that I would do that over a Zoom call. Then, of course, you don't have to put pants on even. So, I mean, you can actually, it's just audio only. Now, that said, I've had the other experience with one of our other ones with NLW. NLW is one of the top crypto podcasters. And we had a couple strange people that wanted to ask questions and didn't ask. They were promoting something or they were just spamming. And that sort of gets into our second article that I sent you, which is Clubhouse is having a real problem moderating trolls, identifying and controlling trolls. And what they did, and I didn't know this until I saw this article yesterday, instead of like the blue check, good check you get for Twitter, I guess you get a black badge if somebody reports you on Clubhouse. And what happens is, it's not like on Twitter, and I'm kind of paraphrasing through the article a little bit, but it's not like on Twitter when if you block somebody, they just you won't see them anymore. They can't comment, they can't DM you, you'll never see any of their tweets, anything like that. If you block somebody on Clubhouse, they can't even get into a session that you're moderating. Like, you can't even get into the room.
I think it's a moderator can block them. But I think the way it works is, at least the way I read the article, is if you block somebody on Clubhouse, you're right, it doesn't just affect the communications between you and the blocked person, like on Facebook or Twitter, but it basically says if you bring that person up on stage with you that can speak, they will not be able to be on stage either. In other words, you can't, if they've blocked that person, you can't bring them up on stage. They can't block.
No. Well, listen to this. So I'm reading from there. This is from The Atlantic. I'm reading this article. It says, once blocked, they can't join or even see any room that you create or in which you are speaking, which effectively blocks them from everyone else in that room.
Well, I guess that's right. I'm reading a paragraph later when it says it limits the way that a person can communicate. Once blocked, they can't join or even see any room that you create or which you're speaking, which you read, which effectively blocks them. But if you've brought on stage from the audience to speak, anyone else in the audience whom you've blocked will be kept off the stage for as long as you're up there. So I guess you're right. I mean, so if they've been blocked by someone who's on stage, they can't see the room.
That's right. And they get the black mark of shame. And there's even some testimony here in The Atlantic about people. This one person says, now when I enter certain rooms, I'm viewed as an unresolved threat. So it's really strange if you're wearing the A around, this is crazy. Yeah. What's going on here with this one? Now, my overall take is, we talk.
And by the way, this is gonna get abused.
Yes, it already is.
If it hasn't already.
It already is. So here's the thing and this is a big problem for Clubhouse, and they've got to figure something out. And I don't know if they have a solution. So they've got this thing with this black mark of shame, but then at the same time, I've been getting, Mitch Joel was talking about this the other day. I've been seeing some things where people aren't doing live anymore in a lot of cases. They've got it set up with their Roadcaster where they've got recordings. So if they want to put up, let's say, how to make money in 10 steps, and that's the session, they'll run it all day long. They'll run it every hour.
Oh my God.
And like it's live. That's like nobody would know the difference, but they just keep running it and running it. Do you believe that? And I know that I know one guy that says he generated like 600 leads because from that he's got like a, go to this lead form and you can get more. God. And it's strange.
I hadn't thought about Clubhouse automation. There you go. There you go. We have, you've got Hootsuite and some of the social publishing tools for automated publishing to the social media channels. And now you've got Clubhouse automation where you just continually launch and get a live. Well,
I'll tell you what, the one thing that is nice is, and I have to look at what tool it is, but we got monthly access to another tool. And as long as you're set up as the moderator, you can record these things. We can see everyone that comes in and out of the room, how long they stay, what they did, if they spoke, everything, and their full names. So I know.
Yeah.
And you can link that up with your database if you want to, and do horrible things with it if you wish to. So it's very positive. Like we want to know when we're going to use it for good, but I could see a lot of people not using it for good.
Oh, it's like that. I guess I should have seen this coming, but it's not unlike. So our friend Tom Webster, who I adore, of course, from Edison Research, he, in this friend group that we have, he used to be a DJ in college, and I knew this, being a college DJ myself. You would get records of shows. Full on records, like not like a literally an LP, and when you ran a show. You would literally put the record on and it would play for, 45 minutes or an hour. It's an hour-long show. It's got some songs. It's got some banter in between. You just set it and forget it, right? This is that. This, what you're talking about is exactly that. It's basically, I record a show and I just have software solution for this, by the way, in 5, 4, 3,
exactly.
There will be a software solution that says, hey, upload your show and we'll automatically create the room, we'll give you the dashboard analytics, and we'll actually repeat the thing every hour on the hour for the next week, so that there's always a show going and you just sit back and, collect all those, I guess, followers. I don't know what the heck you would collect.
I don't know. Yeah. Obviously we've talked a lot about Clubhouse over the past few weeks. We should move on, but I'm going to keep going. We've got 7 more dates of the book tour. We'll learn some more. I'm actually thinking about doing one of them with Brian Clark. He asked to do one on Twitter.
Brian's awesome.
Well, he asked to do one on Twitter Spaces instead. and I might actually want to do that just to test it out because I haven't done. I've been in Twitter Spaces because I have access and you don't. But I
checked. I just checked. I do have it.
You do have
today.
it.
I do have it as of today.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I'm so happy for
thank
you.
you.
So you can be on Twitter Spaces
really
with me too.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was going to test that out, but if it keeps going, I'll be honest with you, because I've been the one on the Clubhouse bandwagon that I think there's something there. If it continues the way it is, I could see using it for small meetings. We can set it up with our Discord server. Well, you could use Discord for that. I'm sorry. We can set it up with our Tiltcoin users where you can have private meetings for people that have certain. We can do all kinds of ththings with it from that standpoint. I like it for that. I don't necessarily like it to go in, get a big audience, and do an event. It just doesn't. I don't. It's, at least for us, I don't think. I don't think that, and that's not going to help them long term.
Well, this guy. I mean, and I promise this is the last bit on it. This was where I thought they should have gone all along. I thought they should have leaned into the whole exclusivity, cool people, hang out, see some stars, high level, exclusive, red carpet sort of idea. That would have been a really interesting, a social network that is truly private and truly about a talk show format, right? Where it is, having a show on Clubhouse is a big deal, right? I mean, that's and all of that is really interesting. So anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, well, we will see. Long way to go. Obviously, social audio, quote, end quote, is a thing. You've got you've got Twitter Spaces, you've got Facebook doing something. We talked about LinkedIn doing something. We mentioned Discord. Discord has a great little program already set up. So if you're on Discord, it's great. Who knows where it's going to go, but just there's like 90 players or something. It happened. No, it's 52. Jeremiah Young, I think, said 52 or 56.
Yeah.
Too many.
Yeah. Well, speaking of maybe too many, so this next news item comes to us courtesy of the horse's mouth, as it were, from HubSpot itself. And the announcement, another launch in the week of launches, it seems like. The headline here is why HubSpot is launching a podcast network. HubSpot opens up their article by saying, we've built HubSpot on the belief that you can earn attention by being of value. What the belief is at the very heart of HubSpot's success. Creating remarkable content is what makes a remarkable brand. We've spent the past decade investing in educational content to help all kinds of business builders be successful. Marketing, sales, customer support, customer success, product engineering, entrepreneurs are all helping to build and grow business. And we've provided free education through our blogs, YouTube Academy, and podcasts to help. Then they go on to the announcements. It is why we're excited to announce the launch of the HubSpot Podcast Network, a new audio destination that is home to 6 great shows that represent a wide range of business topics and background. Together, this collection covers the scope and mastery every company needs to find success. So the inaugural members are podcasts that you would have heard of, by the way. Entrepreneurs on Fire, which I know you are very fond of.
John Lee Dumas, yeah.
Yep. Business Infrastructure, Being Boss, the Martech Podcast, the Salesman Podcast, and My First
Which
Million.
is, of course, the Hustle Podcast with Sam Parr.
Yeah. That's right. And so the article goes on to announce why they believe that this is a new thing and what they want to do with it, and basically as they are really looking to shine a light on the experts and the brands and the leaders, all this stuff. What say you? This seems like a kind of a no-brainer, but what do you think about it?
I have a little bit of insider knowledge about this because I know you'll only get it here. I'm not going to mention the people that I talked to on it because I'm, I guess just trying to report on these things. Yeah. I thought initially this was a trade deal. I thought it was, look, you put our HubSpot, you put our name on it, we will help get you more audience type of thing. Win-win, right? We see them all the time where a media company will partner with an individual creator. Yeah. No problem,
basically,
right?
It's a Barney deal, a sponsorship, a network sponsorship.
Yeah,
deal,
these are done all the time, and usually not. Yep. Sometimes there's a little bit of money, sometimes there's not. In this case, HubSpot's laying down in some cases, $1 million+ or more to each of these podcasts. This is a big deal, multi-year, big deal. The podcasts get to keep some 100% control over it, but they're now in the podcast network, and they're basically buying a sponsorship. They're buying a sponsorship and giving some distribution. It sounds like a really sweet opportunity for the creators.
Are they buying an exclusive sponsorship, or are they buying the podcast?
No, they're not buying the podcast as far as I can tell. As far as I have heard from my sources, I have not heard that. I've heard that it is, basically they're buying some inventory. They have some rights around who can and who can't sponsor. But it is a sponsorship. And then, of course, as you see the picture, if you go to the picture of the HubSpot Podcast Network, you'll see the little HubSpot logo on all the pictures now. So that's a new thing. What do you think of it? Like, what do you think of them investing so much money in these, really the 5 podcasts, because the 6th one, which is the Hustle one, they already own?
That's right. I think, when I first heard of it, before I read the article, I was a little more excited for it than I am now. And what I mean by that is this seems to me to be a hedge of some kind. It's basically, like you said, it's basically a big sponsorship deal, right? So they're sort of wrapping and packaging a multi-podcast sponsorship media buy in a way that is sort of uniform against all of the different podcasts.
Which, by the way, I think is a heck of a lot better than just doing
great.
A sponsorship.
It's basically, it's a classic network buy, like any big upfront would happen in in television or in the old days radio, and you would just you would require the same what they call mandatories in all of your different sponsorships, and it's the same thing. I thought what they were going to do was actually create new shows and actually create a podcast network, sort of a B2B marketing. We've been talking about, I don't know for how long, that we think LinkedIn should do this. But creating a podcast, like a place to go for podcasts, right? For B2B podcasts,
sure. Yeah.
And we talked about this before when we talked about how horrible iTunes or any of the podcast networks are in presenting the hierarchy of business books, or big business podcasts. It's awful, right? I mean, you've got, it's like marketing is under sales a lot of times, and it's just it's a really bad organization and categorization of podcasts in the B2B space, mostly because it's they're much more optimized for the NPRs and the Joe Rogans and those kinds of podcasts. And so somebody, and HubSpot would have been a cool opportunity here, could build an actual podcatcher, right? An actual podcast network that has access to a lot of podcasts that you could actually go use as an app or whatever. And that would have been much more exciting to me. Obviously, much more investment intensive. Yeah. But that was so that was my first thing. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's
fine.
I think it's. I mean, we'll see, but I think this is a pretty good move for HubSpot. The first thing that I thought was, well, why didn't they buy them? That's what I wanted to know. Is this a purchase deal?
That's right.
But then I was thinking, if you look at some of the podcasts, these are lifestyle businesses, creators' lifestyle businesses. This is what they do. They make money on it. They're not building out a full-fledged media company. That they are podcasters, and by doing this, you don't have the issue. And this is what the issue you get into when you buy a media property. It lasts for a couple of years, whatever the earn-out is, and then the creator can go or needs to find a replacement, and they've got it. Well, in this case, you don't have to worry about that. HubSpot doesn't have to worry about
enough.
that. They
Yep.
keep them enough
That's
going. They
right.
want to keep these creators going. They're going to feed them. It's fantastic. They don't have to worry about any transition issues. They can add podcasts at will, and they can fleece all the audiences. They have people buy HubSpot products and services, and it works out great for them. So
That's right.
And I say that
That's
with
right.
in a positive way, not that they're stealing the audience necessarily,
Right.
but
Yeah, exactly.
you know what I mean.
I mean fleece in the most positive sense of the word. Yeah. I get what you mean. I got you.
So,
I got you there.
congrats.
I will say
to
this.
all of them. Yes.
Yeah, definitely congratulations. I will say the other thing that confuses me a little bit is I'm a little confused about the audience targeting here, about the persona that they're, when I think of Entrepreneurs on Fire, Being Boss, and My First Million, it feels like old school HubSpot audience. It does not feel like new school HubSpot.
I was surprised. I really was, because you really think about HubSpot going after enterprises. Not, and I don't mean enterprises like $1 billion, but they're definitely.
No, but just not your crowd, right?
Not individuals, not less than 10 employees. Yeah. They're really going after the 50 employees or higher market for
That's
sure.
right.
They want
That's
more
right.
complex marketing challenges so that you use
Exactly.
more of HubSpot's suite of services. So it's interesting that they're going. It really is interesting. I didn't think about that, but yeah, you're right. That they're really going down to the now. MarTech podcast is more traditional.
Yeah, MarTech is the outlier
Yeah.
there. MarTech is the
Business
outlier
infrastructure.
There,
Yes.
Yep.
Entrepreneurs on Fire and My First Million definitely. I'm assuming that HubSpot would have a much different sponsorship program with those companies than the technology ones or the infrastructure ones. So
yeah.
but think about this. Now look at this for a second. They really hit all the check marks. Entrepreneurs on Fire, of course, entrepreneurs, business infrastructure, maybe CIOs, don't know, Being Boss, executive, MarTech, marketing technology people, salesmen, sales. They've got their sales product.
they're big into sales.
Yeah,
for sure.
they're really trying to hit. If you go through HubSpot's suite of services, I think you just hit all 5 of them. Boom, 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 boom. So,
yeah, it's a quibble. Not a quibble. It's a question that I have, which is, and I'm sure they have they're smart people, so I'm sure they've got a great answer for that.
what do we know? We're just two little chuckleheads, and
we're talking.
Nobody takes us seriously, anyways.
We're dopey. Dopey is the word for us.
Dopey.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good name. That should be the Dopey Marketing Hour. With Doper and Dopest. Okay. Let's go to the next.
Well,
Hello.
Will, let's do our YouTube shorts.
People don't realize that when you and we first get on Skype and we start this thing, we just go, hello, hello, hello,
hello.
and then that goes on for basically 30 minutes, and then we're like, oh, hey,
Pretty much.
what's up?
Hey, we should probably start this thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right, moving on to our next story here, courtesy of the Morning Brew, of course, the wonderful email newsletter. But that's what we'll link to in the show notes anyway. The headline here: YouTube Shorts set up 100 million creators fund. YouTube trying to lure creators away from competitors like TikTok. The article opens up by saying to support its short form video product Shorts, YouTube is setting up a $100 million fund to lure creators away from other platforms such as TikTok. Okay, mostly. Oh, I see. God. Boy,
What's
much?
the new
It's
the
a
new
little
social
bit-
media
it's-
platform? Okay,
Yeah, it's
it's ARK.
it's
All the hip kids are on ARK.
Ak. Yeah. There's TikTok and then there's Ak. Okay. This blog is written very, very conversational. To support its short form video product, Shorts, YouTube is setting up a $100 million fund to lure creators away from other platforms such as TikTok. Okay. Mostly from
You
TikTok.
got it. Yes.
There we go. Shorts in March. YouTube followed up Instagram's Reels and Snapchat Spotlight with its own social
Are you holding your
video
nose
platform.
when you say that? I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. I could do it with my mid-Atlantic 1930s guy to try and replicate TikTok's success. As of late April, Shorts was collecting 6.5 billion daily views. And so the article goes on to talk about how it's going to offer all these monthly payments to creators. It's an arms race for content. This feels like 2015 called and wants their strategy back. But what do you think?
I think my rant last week was, we just covered it in the tilt that YouTube penalized short form video creators on
That's
YouTube
right.
without even telling them.
Well, now you know why.
Yes, they're going to this new strategy, which apparently the people that were communicating with the creators didn't tell them until just now.
Get rid of the riffraff. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. If you're a creator right now and you just got your short, so basically they're going after the people that they just crushed for the last month and took away their revenue. And now they're saying, oh, no, we're not taking away your revenue. We're creating this new creator fund just for you. So stop doing stuff on TikTok and Instagram Reels and come over and it just... Yes, I agree. Of course, everyone's going after creators. It's every week we talk about this thing. Is how serious is YouTube? Have they lost the faith of the creators because they don't have a good communication strategy with this thing, or they just do things and test things without telling people? I don't know.
Well, how long ago was it that they set up a whole fund to do original programming, and they had, and I remember covering this. They had Shaquille O'Neal. They had, they did this whole thing where they were going to create all this short form series and short form. It was right around the time that they launched YouTube Premium or YouTube Red.
Okay.
And they created this whole, fund to spend money on original licensed content that they would put on the premium channel. And I mean, I have to be honest, this to me feels very Quibi-like. I mean, this does not. I don't have a lot of faith in this working out.
But that's a really good point you make, because let's say that what you're talking about, I would say started about 2 years ago, where everyone said, oh, and we knew it was going to come. We've been talking about all these platforms. They were going to start creating their own content. They were going to start buying media companies, doing those things. They did that, and now they're going the other direction, saying, no, we really don't want to buy publishing properties. We don't want to create our own programming anymore. We just want to bring in the creators already doing it. It's actually much less risky. Let's just bring them over from Reels or TikTok and have it on our platform. Don't you see that? Don't you see that that's been a... Do you agree that's been a big shift from one to the other?
I think it is. I just, when I look at this and I go, I got it. That they're gonna do some outreach, right? They're gonna do, the classic sort of go out and recruit those that have huge followings on Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok, and try and bring over their original programming, as it were, to the platform. The two challenges I have with that is, the reason that these platforms get as popular as they are with the creators is not because of the audience. It's because how easy it is to create the content. In other words, people started creating on TikTok not because TikTok had an amazing audience that they wanted to do. It was because creating TikTok videos was so damn easy.
Well, but it's both.
It is ultimately for the creator. They need a big audience. They want a big audience. But the reason these things get hot is, so in other words, if you bring, here's my hypothesis, and I absolutely could be wrong here. My hypothesis is that these content creators that are popular on TikTok, they're popular on these platforms. They're popular in part, not in whole, but in part because of the limitations, capabilities, and framework by which you actually create content on that platform. If you take them to another platform where that process and that framework is different, I don't know that it translates as well. That's my point.
Well,
in other words, there's a reason, and quite frankly, when I look at YouTube right now, and maybe they're going to launch some platform to sort of compete with this as well, to sort of have that shorter video kind of TikTok-like experience. But when I go to TikTok, it's the interface, and we've talked about this before, the interface and the algorithm they have is fantastic. It keeps you engaged for sure. and the content is the content. And on YouTube, I can't even imagine having the same kind of user experience or audience experience on YouTube as I would on TikTok. It's just different. And so I don't find myself on YouTube looking at silly 30-second, prank videos or, dog videos or those kinds of things like I do on TikTok. I think those two things are really, to me, it's the equivalent of the challenge that somebody like Casey Neistat had, where on YouTube, he worked brilliantly. And because that's the way that platform is set up, you bring him over to CNN and it doesn't work as well. It just doesn't. It doesn't work the same way. And I think that's to me, I think that's going to be the challenge that I have in this.
I agree. Yes, I agree with you that in a lot of cases it does not translate. I also would say that if somebody picks a YouTube or a Snap or a TikTok, they learn how to create content on that platform and they figure it out, right? You become a master of that channel.
That's right.
So if you're a master at creating content on TikTok and then you say, okay, now I need to go over and do it on YouTube, you're right. It is different. You have to learn that platform. That is why we've always talked about, and that's what we talk about in the Content Inc. book, is just focus on one platform. Be great. Build your audience on that platform. Then, of course, over time, bring that over to some controlled media like email, and now you got yourself some kind of a content empire that you're building. Here's what I don't get, and I think that we have actually what's the other article we have? Oh, can I just bring up the Axios article? Because this is exactly this Axios article that you brought up here basically says social media companies are all starting to look the same. This is a truth. Like, I don't know what to do with this, and you're talking about a real problem. If you go to TikTok, you have certain expectations. If you go to YouTube, you have certain expectations. All these companies, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, LinkedIn, they're all trying to do the same things in the same way. Everything's
exactly.
What? Like, is that a good strategy? What is the user experience going to be?
That's right. It's a diverse strategy for sure. What's not indicated in the graph, for all you product marketers out there, what's not indicated in the graph is a color coding that says where each one of them is strong. They all have the checkbox in the box, for direct messaging, live video, photo filters, stories, public follower accounts, AR lenses, TikTok-like video feed, and so, but they just have checkboxes, right, where they have that or don't have that. And the kind of the point of the graph is that there's a checkbox pretty much for everything.
But you're right. It doesn't mean that Instagram messages are going to be as popular as Snapchat, which a lot of people just use Snapchat for messaging.
That's right. That's exactly right. So I think your point is a good one, which is you've got a lot of these platforms that are trying to lure away, using the others' most popular features, the things that they believe the audiences really want. In other words, Facebook is trying to bolster its offering by offering up social audio. Twitter is trying to bolster up its product offering by adding in Twitter Spaces. I don't know what the hell Skype.
Yeah, I don't know what Skype. I don't know what. But you know what's interesting? So this whole list, and we went through some of them: Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, LinkedIn, Skype. What? Come on, what are you doing there?
Yeah.
TikTok, WhatsApp, YouTube, Pinterest, Reddit, Twitch. I looked at this whole list. You know what my kids would say are their two favorite ones? The ones on the bottom that have only two check marks.
Reddit and Twitch.
Reddit and Twitch.
And neither of them are social media platforms in my view.
What? Twitch? Reddit? Yeah, Reddit maybe.
Not
Twitch?
really.
How not? How what? How not? What say you? What? Twitch is absolutely.
Did I just melt your brain or something?
You have generally you have somebody streaming, and then you have a robust conversation going on between people that are watching, listening, engaging.
Yeah,
as it goes.
Yeah, I agreed. It gets to Reddit, especially Twitch. Maybe less so, but Reddit for me, Reddit's a media operation. It's a publishing operation. The the line between content reader and content participator, their upload is so overweighted, right? You know, the number of people who actually comment on Reddit.
Yeah, it's like less than 1%.
You know, yeah, right. So think about that in comparison to Twitter or Facebook, right? Where everybody it's almost the other way around.
I don't know. You have a lot of gazers and viewers and
on Twitter, yes. Absolutely you do. But they also create content. I would say, I don't know what the numbers are, but I would guess with Twitter, it's at least 60-40.
Twitter is probably the one that there's the most.
Yeah. And, well, no, I would say Facebook is actually the one who's I don't know anybody who just
I would say most
Facebook.
of the people that I know on Facebook don't post anything.
Post very little, but they do post.
Very, very little.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyways, just quickly about Facebook. My kids say that is the boomer app of all time.
Of course.
Which,
absolutely.
By the way, it is. So.
Yeah. Well, we talked about on the show how, you know, they're not replacing that audience. They're not replacing that audience with young kids, and that's a problem, which is part of the reason that they're trying to offer up all these checkboxes into the features is to sort of say, what are the kids dancing to now? Let's try and offer that. Let's try and offer that and try and capture some of that lightning in a bottle again. And, you know, it won't be too long before Facebook is AOL, you know, and you know,
that's a low blow, sir. You know, it's interesting, though, as I know we've got to go into our final portion of the episode, but when you look at this list and you said, okay, Google, amazing purchase, one of the greatest purchases of all time in YouTube, right? In tech history. Yeah. And then you look at Instagram, Facebook. Instagram, one of the greatest of all time. Amazing. They got it for overpaid at $1 billion at the time you thought, and what a steal it was. And then you go down and you look at Twitch. And I think of all of them, that will go down as the greatest purchase of all time in tech.
You might be right.
Amazon buying Twitch. And most people don't even know that Amazon owns Twitch.
That's right. That's right. Twitch is very underappreciated for the value that it
if you want to know, and that's why you're right, it is a little bit different from a social media standpoint, is when you want to say, okay, what are the most watched things in the world and where are those watched at? Twitch is #1 channel. When you look,
Twitch is rivaling the NBA right now.
I thought they were beating them.
Yeah, they may be.
I mean, Twitch, at this point. When you say what's the most watched thing in the world, you always used to say the Super Bowl. Can't say that anymore. It's like 5 games, 5 gamer competitions on Twitch.
That's right.
So, whatever. Boom, we're boomers. Amazing. What do we know?
Yeah, we don't know. That brings us to the most popular and empirically proven most favorite part of the show, which is, of course, our rants and raves, where Joe and I go off on a little bit of a rant or a little bit of a rave over something that makes us feel like Elon Musk or makes us feel like Tesla, I guess. And so here we are. I don't know. I'm just making this up as I go.
We all are. That's what we do.
Do you want to go first, or shall I go first?
I'll go first. I don't care. Yeah.
Okay.
It's your world. I'm just living in it. Hey. Okay. So mine is a commentary. First of all, this is from Jane Friedman, and if you don't know who Jane Friedman is, she's a fantastic writer. She has a great book called The Business of Being a Writer. If you are a writer, you should be paying attention to Jane Friedman. She wrote an article here that just resonated with me. It's called The New Holy Grail of Traditional Publishers' Direct-to-Reader Relationships. And I read through this, Robert, and you probably remember this, but I'm taking you back 5-6 years. I went into a very large, well-known publisher that they were trying to figure out how they could have direct-to-reader relationships. Because it's very difficult, right? If you look at the publishing landscape right now is owned by Barnes & Noble and then mostly Amazon. So if you are a publisher, that is your distribution arm to get these books out, and Barnes & Noble and specifically Amazon have those reader relationships, at least from from the financial standpoint and the data standpoint. And so the article goes on and talks about what publishers are doing to build these small niche communities. And in some cases, they're doing it very, very well, whether it's food books or whether it's history books or whatever the case is. They're trying to build these content niches and build audience. And then when they launch books, they would go ahead and and have some success with that. And I always thought, and when I went to this old publisher back in the day, it was funny, we got in the conversation that they always led product first. And it's different because their product is content, but they really were just leading with, hey, new book, hey, new book, hey, new book, instead of ever building a long-term relationship with that audience. And that's what we talked about. We're like, what are you doing? First of all, what is the strategy here long term? You're just like, oh, hopefully you have another really good book that the author will market for you, and you go through the whole campaign process, and after 3 to 4 months, you move on to the next book. There's nothing there. So I do like the article because it goes into a lot of these new case studies. One is goodfood.com, which is a good one to look at on the food side. But I just think what publishers are going through right now in this whole article is everything that we need to be talking about as marketers. The same thing. We always lead product first, product first, product first. And oh, by the way, we don't have a long-term relationship with these people from an informational content standpoint, from a content experience standpoint. They're not there. So I just love this article that brought this out. It also, a lot of this is from this book that I just requested. I haven't read it yet, called Book Wars, The Digital Revolution in Publishing by John Thompson. Not the John Thompson that used to coach Georgetown University, probably a different John Thompson. But nonetheless, I would say take a read at this because I think all marketers can get something out of it. And this is the struggle we all have. And I would just ask people that are in the same position in certain industries is how much of the reader relationship, the customer relationship, are we outsourcing to other people? And what do we need to do to take that back? So there you go.
That's good stuff. And I will say this, it's actually worse than that in product companies. One of the things that we've noticed in all the work that we do is, and we talk about this all the time when we talk to content marketing teams or marketing teams, is how marketing teams lead with container first and then story.
Yeah, the pipes first, and then what goes in the pipes.
Yeah, in other words, it's like when you start thinking about content, it's like, we need 14 ebooks, 3 white papers, an ad, and an email, right? Or we need 4 webinars. We think, and then we go, great. Now that we have our inventory of stuff we're going to publish, now how do we fill all that stuff full of content? And the great content marketing teams, the great content marketing processes are the reverse of that, where they're architecting out the stories they want to tell and then figuring out what the right, and it's almost like that, the publishing model that you said, it's almost as if the publishing company would have said, hey, what's a great story? And let's figure out whether it should be a TV show or a movie or a novel or, a how-to video or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Right? No, you're dead right on that one. And you have a couple, do you have a couple rants or what are you doing?
I do. No, it's more commentary than anything else. Just to point people to a couple of things. The first will be an article that I'll point everybody to in the Wall Street Journal, which is the headline is CMO's time in their post continues to grow shorter. Yawn. Here's another headline about CMO's time in their post being short and shorter than their counterparts, the CEO or the CFO or the CIO. And, it basically says, the same thing that all these articles always say is that the average tenure of a chief marketing officer at most of the big, they sort of limit it to the top 100 U.S. ad spenders, went down from 41 months to 40 months. And so, yay, that deserves a Wall Street Journal article. The frustration you hear in my voice is not that much about the fact that they're covering this. It's more what I want to know is, so it's been this way forever. What is the point, right? Is the point that it should be longer? In other words, that businesses should be taking a longer term view of when they hire CMOs and should give it more patience? Or is it that there's some detriment to CMOs? By the way, no CMO that I know is bitching about this, right? None of the CMOs I've ever talked to are like, "Gosh, I wish I had more job security." They go into these adventures knowing that their time is probably going to be measured in the course of 3 to 4 years, and they have changes to make. They can turn the ship. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And in the meantime, they put in, I guess what I would love to see, and I haven't seen this, and if this exists, by the way, I would love to actually see it. And maybe it does somewhere. Some data that says CMOs that last between 5 and 10 years, those companies outperform those companies
that's the data.
where that the CMOs that are in there for a short time. This may just be the way it is, because it's always been in the 40 to 48 months. Oh, it's up to 50 months. Oh, it's down to 36 months. Oh, it's up to 41 months. It's always the same thing. And so I'm always a little skeptical when I see this, because the call to action always seems to be, hey, the companies really need to think about this. And I'm not sure that they do.
You know what would be interesting?
So,
I want to know what that number is compared to any marketer, any marketing position.
right.
It's probably the same. There's a lot of movement in marketing. There always has been.
A lot of movement in marketing. There always has been. That's exactly right. Okay. All right. So one quick other rave in this case. The link, what we'll link to, is in Forbes. Have you seen this? How Signal, the company Signal, basically exposed Facebook's
No, I did not see
disregard
this.
for privacy. It's a fascinating thing. And quite the drama, by the way, on Twitter, if you want to follow along. There's some links in the article that goes to that. Basically, Signal, what they did was they started creating ads using the personalization engine and the data that Facebook has on you to basically, the copy of the ads is exposing the data that they got, right? So in other words, one of the ads might read, "You got this ad because you're a K-pop loving chemical engineer. This ad is used to seeing that your location is in Berlin and that you have a new baby and just moved, and that you're feeling those feelings because you're doing pregnancy exercises lately." And so it's like the whole creepy factor is sort of exposed in the ad. And then the controversy, or controversy, as they might say across the pond, is that Facebook basically killed their ability to create these ads. They killed
Too much
Signal's
content.
ability to create
Too many words.
yeah. Well, and if for those of you who maybe a little more conspiracy minded, they don't want that stuff.
Yeah, they don't.
like
You're
that.
right. First of all, this is amazing. Like you need to look at the graph that they have, or the chart that they have, is fantastic to see all the different ones. But in doing some Facebook ads in the past, you usually can't get that approved because they don't like that much that many words on a page. So they usually kill that right from the start. But that's besides the point. Yeah.
That's right. It's a fascinating thing. And anyway, I was fascinated with it, and I thought it would be
that is a good one. That's so interesting. Yeah, we're just totally gave up our privacy to Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, there it is. Well, what's going on for you this week? I mean, you're busy. You're like Mr. Book Tour, Mr. Clubhouse, Mr.
Yeah,
Interview.
right in the middle of everything. Yeah, I had like 7 interviews yesterday. We were talking about it before. We've got more Clubhouse stuff next week, more podcasts. I mean, the book comes out on the 25th. I got to upload the audiobook. I mean, all that. It's all good. I'm not complaining about it. It's just a lot. And I don't like to work. And this feels a little bit like work.
You don't like to work.
It's just a couple more weeks. You got to do this stuff. And we have, I think they're gone right now. We had 130 boxes going out to influencers and contributors and our case studies in the book. You'll get one. You will get one, of course. You'll get the cookies in the book and maybe a nice note from me. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah.
Might drop an F-bomb. Yeah.
What do you got going
on? We are in the thick of it. We are busy, getting ready for Content Tech, getting ready for a workshop there and keynote and working with speakers and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, working on the new episode of my show, as well as doing a bunch of client work this week. So, not seeing too much sunshine at the moment, but I'm going to try and fix that this weekend.
There you go. Got to make time for you. Little Robert time.
For me, man.
It's got to happen.
Right. That's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are signing off. That is it. If you want to get all the goodness of this podcast, show notes, dive into any of the other 270 episodes, pretty amazing there, why don't you just head on over to our website? It's ThisOldMarketing.site. We definitely want to thank the good folks over at Radix for helping power our ThisOldMarketing.site, and you can get your own .site domain with Radix. And until we meet again, well, remember, it's your story to tell. Tell it well. See you next week on This Old Marketing.